Welcome back to the deep dive. We are starting today's exploration with an idea that can uh, fundamentally alter how you approach difficulty.
Hmm.
It's from the ancient Greek poet Pallades, and it goes something like this. Our life's a stage, a comedy.
Hmm.
Either learn to play and take it lightly, or bear its troubles patiently.
It's just such a sharp piece of insight because it presents you with a mandatory choice.
Right. It's not an option,
Exactly. You are going to have troubles. You are going to experience drama. I mean, that part is guaranteed.
of course.
But the attitude you apply, do you see it as a tragedy to endure or a comedy that, in that classical sense, moves toward understanding and freedom? That framing is the real power we have.
And I think the default setting for most of us when things get hard is just resistance.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
brace, we fight, we tighten up. So our mission for this deep dive is to explore that other choice, treating life as a comedy.
And not comedy as in haha funny.
No, not at all. But as something that ends in acceptance. So we're going to unpack this through three lenses. Dismantling the illusion of control, the strategic power of patience, and the freedom you find in acceptance.
We're really diving into the ultimate script here, the script of impermanence. And to understand how to play lightly, we first have to tackle this huge psychological weight we all carry,
Which is what, exactly?
believing things will last forever, or that we can somehow stop them from, decaying.
We cling to that story, don't we? That if
And-
we just worry enough or plan enough,
Or save enough money.
right, we
Yep.
can build some kind of firewall against the unexpected. It's just an exhausting way to live.
It is, and it's rooted in self-deception. This really brings to mind Richard Feynman's warning about how we must be careful not to believe things simply because we want them to be true.
He said no one can fool you as easily as you can fool yourself.
And we do it every single day, just by assuming our good luck is permanent.
So how do you combat that deep human need for a false sense of permanence? How do you stop fooling yourself?
Well, the antidote is often to proactively accept reality, even the hard parts of it, right now.
Okay.
There's this wonderful story about a Zen master in his prized teacup. Every single day, he'd look at the cup and he'd repeat a mantra to himself. The glass is already broken.
Wow. That's a fascinating mental move. It sounds so pessimistic on the surface,
It does.
but it's actually the ultimate form of presence, isn't it?
Precisely. By acknowledging the cup's inevitable end, maybe tomorrow, maybe in 50 years, he completely removed the potential for shock.
Or devastation.
Yes, he was freed up to just enjoy the perfect cup in the present without that crushing fear of losing it.
So when it finally broke,
He just said, of course.
I think the biggest takeaway there for me is that devastation is a direct factor of how unlikely we thought an event was.
Exactly. Nobody is crushed by snow in winter because we know it's coming. It's the things we refuse to even think about, the sudden illness, the job loss, that really knock us off our feet.
And this is exactly why the Stoics practice memento mori, right? Contemplating mortality.
Mm-hmm. It's so often misunderstood as just being morbid.
When really, it's the ultimate act of presence.
Marcus Aurelius put it in the most visceral way possible. He said that when you kiss your child goodnight, you should whisper to yourself, he may be dead in the morning.
That is just a brutal thing to hear, especially for a modern parent. It sounds horrifying.
It does, but the context is everything. The point isn't to invite tragedy or dwell in darkness.
The point is to seize the present.
Yes. By acknowledging how fragile that moment is, you transform a routine kiss goodnight from something you take for granted into this profound, precious gift.
You stop wasting time on petty arguments
Or trivial pursuits. You cherish what is actually right there in front of you.
And we see the devastating reality of this when fate does strike. I mean, you look at the stories of Francis Ford Coppola, Martha Nussbaum, David Kessler,
All of whom lost a child.
through an accident, a genetic disorder, and overdose. Coppola said the loss of a child is, quote, not something I would wish on my worst enemy.
The pain is undeniable. But the wisdom of the Zen master and the Stoics is about adjusting our mindset before disaster strikes.
So that when it
We
does,
can respond from a place of appreciation for what we had, rather than just being defined by the shock of what we assumed would last forever. It's being prepared to change scenes without, collapsing the whole production.
okay, so if we embrace impermanence, if we loosen our grip on control,
Mm.
there's a pretty common fear that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Does this just mean we stop trying? Does it lead to apathy?
That is the perfect question because it gets at this really powerful paradox. Playing lightly doesn't mean you stop caring.
It almost sounds like it requires more devotion.
Exactly. You become devoted to the process while staying detached from the immediate outcome. It requires you to play the long game.
Thomas Buxton said something about that, right?
He did. With ordinary talent and extraordinary perseverance, all things are attainable. The perseverance is the devotion. The playing lightly is the detachment from the timeline.
Let's make this concrete with that case study from the source material, which I found fascinating.
Hmm.
The ball python breeder, Justin Kabilka.
Oh, his work is incredible. Kinova Reptiles, it's a multi-million-dollar industry now, and his company has a perfect rating.
And his devotion to the craft lets him create these amazing, complex varieties of snakes. But it's his strategy that's so illuminating.
You're talking about the $100,000 snake.
The $100,000 snake, he was offered over $100,000 for a single animal, which at the time was just unheard of.
Any rational person would have taken the money and run.
So why did he refuse that jackpot?
He was playing the long game with just total clarity. His rationale was simple. You actually lose money long term if you sell the most amazing thing at the time.
So that one snake, that unique genetic asset, was too valuable for his future.
Right. Selling it would maximize profit for that quarter, but it would have killed his ability to innovate and dominate the market for the next decade.
That is the philosophical bridge right there. He wasn't emotionally attached to the cash. He was devoted to the craft. He was dancing with time.
Yes. Reinvesting his best assets. Letting those small advantages compound over years. Building reputation and future abundance.
The patience required for that is immense.
It is. It means saying no to the quick win, embracing years of quiet, patient work. It reminds me that saying, no matter how slow you go, you are still lapping everybody on the couch.
Progress matters so much more than speed, especially when speed compromises your foundation. It's that old truth. Saving time is never as important as cherishing it.
And that leads us perfectly into our third section, how acceptance and self-knowledge become the ultimate form of freedom.
Okay.
Once you detach from the outcome and devote yourself to the process, you're actively choosing play over suffering.
The best example of this, of loosening the grip, has to be Epictetus and his stolen lamp.
A great story. He was a Stoic philosopher. He wasn't wealthy, but he had this one expensive iron lamp.
And he got stolen because he didn't lock his house.
Now, the typical response is outrage, right? Anger, fear, buying new locks.
Doubling down on security.
But Epictetus's reaction was so much more insightful. He just replaced it with a cheaper clay one.
And this wasn't just him being cheap.
No, it was an act of liberation. He chose to remove a source of potential future anxiety. He traded a material object for his own peace of mind. He realized the stress of guarding the lamp outweighed the value of the lamp itself.
Seneca built on that, didn't he? Cautioning us not to give our time to just, drink and lust, the easy pleasures.
What truly nourishes us. And that nourishment comes from accepting reality, not fighting it.
We have to learn to feast on reality.
I love that phrase. There's a Spanish proverb, a buen hambre no hay pan duro.
When you're truly hungry, no bread is too hard.
Exactly. If we can accept reality as the meal we're given, if we're hungry for growth, we can feast on whatever life provides instead of starving while we demand a perfect banquet.
And this is where it becomes actionable. If you accept reality, the only control you have left is internal.
Mm-hmm. Your attitude.
The attitude, the approach, the energy you bring to the stage.
And that requires deep self-knowledge. Epictetus insisted on this. The whole goal is to know yourself, love yourself, trust yourself, and be yourself.
So you have to figure out which battles are actually worth fighting for your growth.
Yes. Not every difficulty is a useful training exercise, only the ones that serve your specific evolution.
And part of that self-knowledge is accepting that you're going to be wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
That you have to let yourself evolve.
You have to understand that growth is improvement, not hypocrisy.
I love the story about Diogenes for this. Someone confronted him, pointing out a contradiction between his past beliefs and his current ones.
And his reply was just magnificent. He said, yeah, well, there was a time I used to piss my bed.
It's the ultimate mic drop.
It is. It's a complete rejection of the need to be consistent over the need to evolve. We're allowed to change our lines, to improve our performance, without apologizing for who we were yesterday.
The character you're playing today is just an improved version from the last scene.
That's it.
So this brings us to the final act. If we accept impermanence, that everything we love will change or perish, where do we find real, enduring meaning?
We have to circle back to the core idea. The comedy of life is that everything matters and nothing lasts.
Kafka had a beautiful take on this.
He did. He said, "You will lose everyone you love, but the love will always return in new forms."
That is such a fundamental shift in how we see loss. It's not the end of the story.
It's a scene change, the ability to appreciate the love itself that doesn't die. It just transforms, maybe from physical presence to a cherished memory, or from one kind of love to another.
And making that transformation relies on trust, trusting life itself.
Trusting that even through change, something essential continues. And this is the difference between just, reading the sources and actually internalizing the lessons.
It's like that Mark Twain quote, "The man who does not read good books has no advantage over the man who can't read them."
Mm.
If you witness all these profound lessons, fragility, patience, acceptance, but you don't change your performance, what was the point?
You don't change the comedy by complaining about the script. You change it by how you perform your part. You change the world by your example, not your opinion.
That's the real takeaway. We can renounce aggression and teach peace, not by arguing about it, but by practicing it.
At home, with family, at work.
Approaching life with the grace of someone who knows the show is temporary, but the performance is everything.
Living without the burden of false permanence.
I love that. And to wrap it all up, that mantra from Yogi Bhajan seemed to capture it perfectly. Live light, travel light, spread the light, be the light.
It's the ultimate guide. Play your part as if your life were a masterpiece you are utterly devoted to, but also completely detached from.
So we want to leave you with this final thought to consider. How can you move through whatever challenge you're facing right now, big or small, unburdened by that expectation of permanence, and instead choose the grace of the player who knows the show must go on?